Okay, today we're going to start Gimel Amud Beis Abaya Amar.
Okay.
Thank Hashem, to be able to learn Torah every day. It's plus of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Oh, very nice. Jeff is here. And Chaim is on. Okay, so we had a problem in the Mishnah. We said Akol Sheichten Shchitas and Ksheira, that the Chatchila everyone can shecht, and then B'di'evet it's kosher. So we said if you're Chatchila, of course it's B'di'evet. And then we had some other issues. It says Kulin Sheshachtu. Who is that talking about? Anyway, we gave one teretz yesterday from Rabba Bar Ula. Rabba Bar Ula's teretz was anyone can shecht. Is talking about anyone that's tamei can shecht chulin. So then we said, if that's the case, Kulin Sheshachtu, why do you need someone watching them? We said that L'chatchili could shecht. He says, no, we're talking about tamei b'mukdashin. Talking about someone tamei that's shechting something that's like a carbon. So we said, so why did we say we have another bris Mishnah that says it? So we answered that this one's the main one. That one's the main one. It said it. Derech Haga. Okay. Abaya has another teretz. To the Mishnah. We're going back on the Mishnah. There's Hakol Sheichtim. The Mishnah said that everyone is allowed to shecht, which meant even Lachatchila. We say Vafilu Kuti. Even a Kuti. Remember, the Kuti was the people that converted, and they converted out of fear of that the lions were going to eat them. They were like not such perfect converts. So we had a question if it was sincere, and then we had a question also if they were keeping it later, if they went back, or all that stuff. Okay, well. So we're talking about a kuti. So a kuti can shecht. How can a kuti shecht? Because l'chatchila a kuti could shecht. So it turns out that one of the things that the kutim accepted on themselves, and they actually keep it, is that to keep kosher. They're careful not to eat nevela. The only thing is that they don't accept the mitzvah of lifnei yivra le'sitin mechshel. In front of a blind person, you can't put a stumbling block as figurative. They understand in front of a blind person, you can't put a stumbling block as literal. You're not allowed to put a block in front of a blind person. They don't understand it to mean that you can't cause someone else to do an aveira. For them, there's no problem to have someone else. In other words, if it's treif, don't eat it. But if you feed it to someone else, so we say like this: Hakol sheich afilu kuti. Your kuti can shecht. They know how to shecht. They do a good job. When do we say this? Because Yisrael Emet al Gaba. That's only if a Jew was watching him. Okay. We're adding these halachas into the Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't say that. It says a kol sheichten. Who's it coming to include? Hakol. To include the kuti. How are you allowing this? Because this is Omer al Gabav. Why does it say now b'di'evet it's mutter? If he's not Omer al Gabav, if he's not standing there watching him, but if there's a yid that's just the yetziv v'nichnas is the mashkiach that walks in and out, so then he cannot do the shechita. That's not acceptable. But if he did a shechita, then what do you do now? So you take a kazayas of the meat and you feed it to the sheichet. Now, if the sheichet eats it, he's a kuti. If he eats it, then it's mutter lechel mishchitasi. Then you're also allowed to eat it, because he would never eat something that's not kosher. But if he himself says he doesn't want to eat it, then you're not allowed to eat from mishchita. There's a whole shaila about the mashgichim that don't eat from the kashrus, that they're more from than their own kashrus thing. Question is, if they're not ready to eat from it, so maybe they don't consider the people that they're shechting for as significant enough that they're going to be makbid. it's hard to have like that double standard. For myself, no, I don't eat it. I'm just a sheikhet here, but I wouldn't eat the shechita. That's strange. Okay, so if he's ready to eat it, then if the kuti can eat it, that's going to be the test, and you'll be able to eat it as well. Yeah. Now we're continuing in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, but a cher sheita v'katan not. Why? Even b'diavad, even after he shechted, we still say that you can't eat from a cher sheita v'katan's shechita, a deaf mute, imbecile or a child. Shem Yishu, maybe he will delay and take a pause in the middle of the shechita. Shem Yidrusu, maybe he'll press down. Shem Yachlidu, or maybe he'll sneak it in, the knife in through the under the skin. The kulin sheshachtu. Okay, now it says kulin sheshachtu. Ba'achirim rayanais on the Mishnah says anyone that shechs and other people are watching them, then you can eat it from it. Hey, which case were you talking about? Kulin sheshachtu. If we're talking about the cher sheita v'katan, the deaf mute, the imbecile, and the child, alakai. That's exactly the case that we were said directly prior to kulin sheshachtu. So we said cher sheita v'katan, you're not allowed to give them to shech, and it should have said, and if they shechted. Why did it say in anyone that shechted? You don't have to say in anyone. You said and if they, because you're just talking about v'im shachtu mi ba'ilai. Just continue with, and if they shechted, then if other people are watching, it would be good. Ella akuti. The fact that we went back and we said the kulan and anyone that shechs, it must be that we're going back on the case of the kuti, where over there was one problem case where we said that we needed to have Yisrael Eimen al Gabay, but if it wasn't Eimen al Gabay, then we would have to feed it him. So it says Ella kuti. We're going back to the kuti. Ha'amrit Yisrael Eimen al Gabay shachar afil lechatchila. We said that if achirim rayam aisam, if other people are watching it, that's the same as Yisrael Eimen al Gabay. That means the Jewish person is standing there. If the Jewish person is standing there, then you know that it's going to be kasha. It's a kasha. So we leave off with a question on Abaya. We leave off the end of the Gemara today. We're going to go through why each opinion here doesn't hold over the other one. But what we're starting off now is that one of the reasons why we won't go like Abaya is because we end up with the question, what do we do with V'kul and Sheshachtu? If it's talking about a kuti, then we already started off saying Hakol Sheichtim is referring to a kuti, Shalem al Gaba. So it can't be that now we're going back to say again a kuti with Achirim Rayim, which means the same as Yisrael al Gaba. The Jewish person is watching, that it should be acceptable. It doesn't have to repeat that. Amar Rava. Rava says that we mentioned over here that a Yetziv Nichnas, we said a Yetziv Nichnas doesn't work. That's a mashkiach. That's not there full time. He comes and he goes. He spot checks. Yetziv Nichnas lechatchila loy. There's a problem with having a mashkiach that's Yetziv Nichnas, that he comes and he goes. V'atanan, but we have a Mishnah. If someone leaves a non-Jew in his store, and a Jewish person is coming in and out all the time. He's always in and out. So is that acceptable? It says mutter. It says that's allowed. Why are you telling me that if you have a kuti there, and Yisrael Yosef Nichnas, the Jewish is coming and is spot checking, that it's not acceptable? We have a clear Mishnah that says, I think it's talking about wine actually. That Mishnah, right? Does it say over there it's talking about wine? It's talking about wine, where a non-Jew could end up touching the wine. But no, he's not going to do that because the Jew is always spot checking. He's going to be afraid to touch the wine. The Gemara says, Hasam, miktani meniach. Over there in that Mishnah, does it say meniach, which means one may leave a non-Jew? It doesn't say one may leave a non-Jew. It says ha-meniach. Someone that left a non-Jew. Left a non-Jew means that he did it, and it's a b'di'evet. Ha-meniach katani. Di'evet. There's no question about that. L'chatchila, you can't leave a non-Jew because we have concerns with the non-Jew. Maybe with the Eved it's okay, but Hakol Sheichten L'Chatchila would only be Yisrael Eimed Al Gabav, only if the Jew is there the whole time. Elami Hacha, rather from here, you have another question, Rabba's question. Ein Hashemer Tzarech Liyis Yeshiv V'Meshamer Alaf Bishi Yetziv V'Nechnas Mutter. The Shemer, the guard, the one that's watching the wine, does not need to be there constantly. He doesn't have to be a Mashgiach Tamidi. He's allowed to just be a spot checker, and it's going to be Mutter. So here it says clearly that even the Chatchila, you don't need a constant Mashgiach. You just need a Yetziv V'Nichnas. Okay. So, Elam Rava. Yeah, the Rava says, Hachi Ktani. Here's the pshat. We had a bias pshat of what's the pshat, what's going on in the Mishnah that is dealing with the kuti. Rava now, after his questions on Abaya, with the first of all, there was one question with what does it mean? Im shachtu, v'kulan sheshachtu. What does that mean? Because we already said that if it's dealing with a kuti, Yisrael Eimed Al Gabi is mutter. That was the beginning of the Mishnah. And the second question is, why are you making a big deal about Yetziv V'Nichnas? We have a Mishnah that says Yetziv V'Nichnas is perfect. So Rava says, Hachi Ktani, here's a new pshat in the Mishnah. Hakol Sheichtim. Everyone is allowed to shecht. Afilu kuti. Even if it's a kuti. Okay, sounds like a baya, right? When do we say this? That's only if a Jew is spot checking. Now it's different than a baya. Baya said only if a Jew is there the whole time. It says even if he's spot checking. But if he came in and he found that he shechted already while he wasn't there, so what do? You cut off a slice of meat, you give it to him and he eats it. If he eats it, then mutter then you're allowed to eat it as well. Because if he would never eat something that's not kosher, maybe he would feed you something, but if he's ready to eat it, it must be that it's kosher. If he won't eat it, then you're not allowed to eat from it. Yeah. We know already. Can't trust them because they may press down, they may delay, take a pause in the middle, and then they'll finish it off after. Or they may sneak the knife under the skin to cut it like that. We continue the Mishnah. It says that anyone that shechs, and other people are watching them, which case are you referring to when you say anyone that shechs? The Gemara does this in every possible answer that we have. The Gemara is going to say, what's the case of kulan sheshachta? It says maybe it's a cher sheita v'katan, and it's going to say no. Then you don't have to say kulan. You could just say the im shachtu, if they shechted, because that's what we were talking about. You don't have to repeat the whole phrase. So it must be going back on the original case. That's what the Gemara is going to do. Allah koi, if it's called cher sheita v'katan, you were just talking about the cher sheita v'katan. You don't have to repeat the whole introductory sentence. All you have to say is, and if they shechted when they shouldn't have, then if other people were watching, it should be good. So obviously we're not talking about that because it didn't say it like that. Ella akuti. It's talking about the kuti. Kuti is going to be acceptable if other people is watching it. It says, 1 second, why do you need other people watching? We said that even if it's yetziv v'nichnas, even if he's not standing there the whole time, it's also mutter l'chatchila. Kasha. Mar says this is a question. I want to point out, Taisvus has a question over here that why do you have to do, if Rava allows a Yotze V'Nichnas, Rava allows a mashgiach to be spot checking, So if you come and you found that the kuti had shechted, so if a spot checking is enough to make sure that he's going to do it good because he never wants to get caught, right? So then why do we need to give him to taste it? It should automatically be good because he said the spot checking mashgiach is good. So that's his question, right? Rava allows us mashgiach that spot checks. Then why when you spot check him and you come in, you see that he shechted, why all of a sudden it's not good? Well, so what's the point of spot checking? It's not good if you have to now give him to taste it to check if it's good. So then why do you have to spot check? Just give him to taste every time, right? Spot checking doesn't work. Stacy's question. Stacy says that even though the spot checking works, but nevertheless, if you have an opportunity to clarify even more, he calls it kol sheyachol levarer al yidei kazay spasi yesh levarer. You should try to clarify even better. You aim for a higher standard than the Yetziv Nichnas, but push comes to shove, you could rely on the Yetziv Nichnas. That's what it sounds like. Okay. So now we have 3 pshatim in our Mishnah. The one pshat was yesterday, Tamei B'chulin, but actually we had 2 pshatim yesterday, Tamei B'chulin and Tamei B'mekdashin. No, it was Tamei B'chulin. The end of the Mishnah was Tamei B'mekdashin. That's what we learned yesterday. Today we had Abaya's pshat, which is talking about a kuti, which is Yetziv and with a yid that's Aymed al Gabay. We have Rav's pshat, where it's a kuti, and it's a yid that's Yetziv v'nechnas. Now we come to Ravashi. Ravashi Amar Hachiktani. Ravashi's pshat goes like this. This is what the Mishnah means. Hakol Sheichten. Everyone can shecht. Who's everyone? Who are you coming to include when you said everyone? Coming to include Afil Yisrael Mumar. Even a Yisrael that's a renegade. What's he doing wrong? Mumalamai. Why is he calling him a mumar? Like, what does he do wrong? It says Laichel Nevel Satiyavan. He eats treif. Satiyavan means that he's in the airport. There's nothing else to eat. He'll buy a non-kosher sandwich. When he's home, he's not going to eat treif. He has kosher stores all around town. He lives in Miami. But if he doesn't have, he'll eat treif. His hunger overtakes him. So he does this all the time. He's a mumar l'teyavan. He's not like lahachis. He doesn't want to get everyone to eat treif and that type of thing. He wants to keep kosher. It's just when it's hard for him, he eats treif. So we're talking about over here, he's a mumar, and he's allowed to shecht. The Rava, like Rava says, the Rava Yisrael mumar oichel nevel l'teyavan. If you have a yid that he's a mumar, he eats treif when he's hungry. Teyavan means out of desire, not in spite, just out of desire. Then what can you do with him? You can check the knife and give it to him. You're allowed to eat from his shchita. Yeah. Sounds like a lenient opinion, but it's funny, all these people, they're machbed, this shchita, that shchita, I only eat this one, I only eat that one. Turns out the guy could be a kuti. Could be a kuti, and you have a mashgiach there. It's mashgiach tmidi. It's probably good. But mumar l'teyavan, it's probably good also. No, but there's a lot of reasons to be strict about shchita. But from the Gemara, it looks like a much more lenient opinion. Anyway, so beidik sakin v'naisin lai. You can check a knife and you can eat from it. But let's say you didn't check the knife and he started to shecht, and you gave him the knife, so you shouldn't allow him to shecht until you check it. But if he did shecht and you didn't check the knife means that you have to run your finger along the knife to see if there's any nicks there. Make sure it's prepared properly. That's right. So they have to check the knife. So Im shachat, if you shechted and you didn't check it, so you know what? They have another solution. After the shechita, you can check the knife then. It's not going to get improved by the shechita. You're not going to say that it used to be treif. The knife used to be not kosher. And afterwards, after you shechted, it got better. It only gets worse, right? Is that called? Is that called inertia? Nothing gets improved without energy. It's not going to get a better. It's not going to turn into a kosher knife afterwards. So you check it afterwards, and if it's still good afterwards, then for sure it was good by the shechita. Nimtza sakina yafe. If the knife is kosher, then mutter lechem mishchitase. Then it's going to be mutter. Bimlav, then you're allowed to eat it. Bimlav, but if not, if the knife isn't good, then as lechem mishchitase, then don't touch, don't eat it. Chutz micher sheite v'katan. Now the Mishnah continues, and it says, but a cher sheite v'katan, you can't allow them to shech. Even b'diavad, if they shechted, it's still you can't eat it. Why? Because there's other concerns over here that even if you're going to check the knife, it's not going to be acceptable. Because Shema Yishu, Shem Yidrusu, Shem Yachlidu, there's possibilities that they messed up by the shechita, and you're never able to check if those mistakes were made. Afterwards, you can't tell if the person took a pause in the middle of the shechita and then he continued later. Or maybe he pressed a little bit. Or maybe he stuck the knife under the skin when he shechted. Okay. The kulan sheshachtu ahei. Then the Mishnah continues, and it says kulan sheshachtu. And anyone that shechs, if other people are watching, it's going to be kosher. Which case is that referring to? And if you say it's referring to the cher sheit v'katan, if other people are watching, it's going to be kosher. Then the wording is wrong. It says Allah kaid. That's what you were just talking about. V'im shachtam ibai, like we said before, the Gemara does this each time. It says it can't mean that it's talking about the cher sheit v'katan. It says, and if they shechted, not in anyone that shechs, you don't have to repeat the introductory clause. Ella Yisrael Mumar, going back to the original case. Even though we said Yisrael Mumar should not be shechting unless you check the knife. But if there's other people standing there, that's allowed. Gemara says, 1 second. If you check the knife, then we said that you don't need to be standing there. You can check a knife, give it to him, and he's going to do a good job because he doesn't want to eat treif. And he doesn't want to serve you treif either. He's not a kuti. He understands that he should not be, that it's figurative. You can't put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. It doesn't just mean a block. It doesn't mean a brick in the middle of the sidewalk. Understands it means also non-kosher food, assuming under the assumption that it's kosher. He understands that, so he's not going to. So we said that you're allowed to give a knife. So why do you have to be standing there? It must be that you didn't check the knife. The Gemara says, "Idi salasaka and live the cake." And if the knife is there, so why don't you check it? Live the kehashti. You should check it out. Read the lesson lasaka, and if you don't have the knife, what's the difference if other people are standing there? If you don't have the knife now, maybe he used a knife that wasn't kosher, not an acceptable knife, and so what people were watching? Gasha. Yeah. That's how they know that. My grandmother told me she had it was a relative that was making a wedding in Washington. So they said, we're not coming because it's not kosher. They said, oh no, we got a kosher caterer. It was the same caterer that did the Ben David Accords. And what was his name? What was the Camp David, what was it called? The thing with Begin, Menachem Begin. So Menachem Begin was there, and he ate. Anyway, it turns out that when they looked into it, it turns out that it was the same caterer, but Begin ate from TV dinners. He didn't eat. But anyway, hold the fast one. Okay, so Ravina Amma. Okay, so we leave off over here with the kasha. The kasha is on this pshat. This was Rav Ashi's pshat, right? That we're dealing with the Yisrael Mumar, and we end off with a question because what does it mean? Kulan Sheshachtu, if other people are watching them, it's going to be kosher. It shouldn't be kosher if other people are watching it. You have to check the knife. You have another detail over there. If you don't deal with that detail, it's still not going to be kosher. Okay, so we have a kasha on Rav Ashi as well. We had a kasha on Abaya. The kasha on Abaya was twofold. That why do you need a Yosef V'Nichnas? That was Rabba's kasha. Why do you need a Imid al Gaba? Yosef V'Nichnas should be enough. Other question was that why do you need a Chayrim Rayim Maisam if you told me a Yosef V'Nichnas is enough? Then we had Rabba's pshat that it's dealing with a Yosef V'Nichnas. Over there we also had a kasha that if Yosef V'Nichnas is enough, why do you need a Chayrim Rayim Maisam? Okay. Now we have, this is whose pshat? This is Rav Ashi's pshat. We say that why do you need what does Achim Rayim some help if you didn't check the knife? Okay, now we're up to Ravina. Abaya, we had Rabba Bar Ula, Abaya, Rava, Rav Ashi, now Ravina. Ravina Marachik Tani, here's the pshat. Akol Sheichtem. Everyone says that you can shech. I'm sorry, everyone is allowed to shech. What does that mean, everyone? Hakol mumchin sheichten. Anyone that's a mumcha can shecht. All people that passed their smicha test, the smicha used to contain shchita and treifus. It was the first volume of Yeridea. That's what shchita used to be, which included shchita, treifus, which is a bunch of simanim, hilchas dam, hilchas chela v'dam, hilchas nikur, malicha, and basa v'chalav and taruvas. That was what the test, the smicha test was. Then they cut it down. That the sheichet has to deal with shchita and treifus. You only have to deal with malicha, basa v'chalav and taruvas. And they threw in, instead of that, they threw Shabbos in instead of the shchita. Then they, first the shchita. There used to be treifus. Malicha, taruvas, and Shabbos. Then they dropped the treifus, and because that's all dealt with in the shlachtes. Then they dropped some places. They dropped malicha because malicha is also done in the shlachtes. They have basa v'chalav, taruvas, and Shabbos. Okay, anyway, so anyone that got their smicha test can do shchita. And even though they never had what's it called? They never had residency. They never tried to shecht yet, but they passed the test. You have your certificate. Okay, go ahead. I wouldn't do this for a dentist, but but for shchita, they're saying it's no problem. Okay. When do we say that? Even though he hasn't tried yet, that even though we didn't watch him 3 times, that he can do a shchita. What could happen if he knows what he's supposed to do? What could happen? It's possible that he could faint, or even if he faints, then there's going to be a delay. Even if he faints for a second when he sees the blood, right? So there are people that faint when they see blood. So it could be that that's going to cause a pause, even if he gets composure and he continues. But that would still make the shchita treif. Or maybe he just can't hold his hand right to do it. Right? There's other issues. You have to hold this. There's a grip that you need to have. So, but we say over here, hakol sheichtem, that he could shech. When do we say that he can shech? That's if we know we test him and he can recite the hilchos shchita. But if we don't know that he can do this, today there's a book that they learn from. All the sheikhim, they learn the sefer every 30 days. Forgetting the name. Do you remember the name? Chaim Mesha. It's a book that the sefer that they have to learn every 30 days. So if they know the sefer, then if they know the laws of shchita, then that's good. But if they don't know the laws of shchita, then la yishchet, then he shouldn't shech. And if he shechs, then bait can I say they have to check. If afterwards, and this is strange. Let me do this again. Ravina says that anyone that's a mumcha can shecht, even though he's not an expert yet. If he knows that he can, that he knows the hilcha shchita. How do you call him a mumcha if he doesn't know the hilcha shchita? I don't know. I guess it's going back to explain how is he a mumcha, because he knows it. If we're not sure if he knows it, then he should not shech. Vim shachat, and if he did shech, then bite can I say? Then we do then we can ask him questions. And if he doesn't know el chashchita, then you shouldn't eat from it. Okay, that's the beginning part of the Mishnah. Hakol sheichtim. That's because they check to see if he knows it. But by no, that feel that even the Evid he shouldn't shech. There's no way of examining, there's no way of ascertaining that he didn't do one of those mistakes, and he doesn't have the awareness to make sure that he doesn't do that. Now the Mishnah goes on and says, and anyone that shechted, if other people are watching, it's going to be kosher. Hey, which case are you talking about? And if you're talking about the case that we just mentioned, that's what we were just referring to. Over there, you don't need to add the introductory clause, you could just say, and if they shechted, if other people watching, it should be good. Can't be what the Mishnah is talking about. And what's interesting here is that what would actually be by a cher sheit v'katan that have other people watching? Would that be acceptable? We keep saying that that's not what the Mishnah means, but does that mean that it's also not acceptable? Yeah, Tosfos before says that we know for sure that it's going to be kosher if it's acherim rayim ma'asam, if other people are watching. But we know that it can't only mean that; it has to mean something else, because you introduced a new an introductory clause. That means you must be referring to someone else as well. So, who's it talking about? It must be Ella She'ein Mumchen. She'ein Mumchen. It's talking about people that aren't experts in the laws. We said, 1 second, if they're not expert in the laws, but can I say Sagi? You don't have to be there and watch them. You just have to ask them questions afterwards. So why do you say Kulan Sheshachtu V'Achim Rayim Raisam? It's going to be good that other people are watching. You don't have to watch it. Afterwards, give them an exam. If they knew the Hilcha Shchita, they didn't learn it in the last 5 minutes. So that would be enough. But by Tnei Sagi, it says the lesser command live the K. If they're not here anymore, they ran off. So we say, well, who was here that was watching? Anyone here watching the Shchita? Okay, now it's going to be kosher. That was the pshat of Ravina. Ikadamri, there's another pshat. There are those that say Ravina said it differently. Watch this. It's exactly the opposite of the first one. Anyone that's practiced could be a sheikhet. If they practiced, even though they don't know the halachas. This is what happens when people want to learn shchita. So they just want to get a hold of the knife and start sharpening and start shechting animals. But then to sit down with the sefer and to actually go through all the halachas, that's the difficult part, to learn it properly. So this guy, he was he wanted to be a sheikhet, so he just starts shechting, but he doesn't know the halachas. We say, okay, that's going to be good. He can shecht. When do we say that he can shecht? That's only he shechted in front of us 2-3 times and he didn't faint. But if he didn't shecht in front of us, then we don't allow him to shecht, because we don't know if he's going to faint. If he's going to faint, he's going to cause we're not so concerned about him fainting, but we're concerned that the meat won't be kosher. If he shechted and he says, I know I didn't faint, that's the shchita is going to be kosher. So that's the b'diavad part of here. The chatchila he can shecht, b'diavad B'diavad, if he shechted and we don't know that he's an expert at this, so then if he tells us that he didn't faint, we say it's kosher. We say no, not by a cher sheit v'katan. The feel of the Evid namiloi shemi yishu, shemi yidusu, shemi yachlidu. But by the cher sheit v'katan, we have other concerns that maybe he's going to pause or do one of those things that we're not able to check afterwards. Anyone that shechted, other people are watching, it's going to be kosher. Which case are we talking about? Can't be talking about just the cher sheit v'katan because we already said cher sheit v'katan. You don't have to repeat an introductory clause in anyone that shechted. You could just say, and they shechted. We're talking about people that aren't experts. If they shechted, other people are watching them, it's going to be acceptable. You said you don't need other people there. You said it's just enough to ask them if they fainted. I said, bless the commando l'shayli. If they're not there, so then we can rely on other people as well. If they're there, then we can ask them. We don't need other people. But if they're not there, then we would require other people. Okay. Now, the Gemara does this in other places as well. The Gemara does is it asks, why did each of these opinions not say like the other opinions? Ravina, Rabba Bar Ula, Abaya v'Rava v'Ravashi layamri. Ravina and Rabba Bar Ula, they don't say the pshat like Abaya, Rav, and Ravashi. Why don't these opinions? Ravina was the muchzakim, the people that can shech but they don't know the halachas, or they know the halachas but we're not sure they can shech. And also Rabba Bar Ula was the one that said that we're talking about someone that's tamei. Can he shech? Is he allowed to shech? So, but they don't go like Abaya. Abaya said that we're talking about a kuti. Rava said we're talking about a kuti. Or Ravashi that said we're talking about a mumar. They don't go like that. Why? Because mishum dekashalu. Because we ended up with questions. We ended up with questions on them. Let me use this pencil for a second. Kashalu. Kashalu v'kulan. We didn't understand the pshat in v'kulan. It says in everyone that shechs is going to be kosher. If other people are watching. We said, according to Abaya, we said, why do you need other people watching? You just have to know, you just have to feed it to him. All right? We said, according to Rava, also, you only need a yotzev nichnas. You don't need to be standing there. According to Ravina, according to Ravashi, we said that we just have to check the knife. Okay, so they don't say like them. From the Kasla v'Kula. Kula Karabba Barula layamri. They don't go like Rabba Barula because lahach listened to because there were two answers there. There was one answer that said if the Kulan Shashachta was referring to that we said in Rabba Barula, Kulan Shashachta, anyone that shechted is referring to a tummy person that's shechting a carbon. We said, but we have another Mishnah that says that. Why do we need to repeat it here? So we said, well, here's the main place. Over there was just said there. According to the opinion that says how could you say that this is the main place that's talking about Kabbanis? We're in Masechta Chullin. That must be the same place. So no one wants to say that pshat. According to the pshat that says that in Kachim, in Zvachim, that was the main place. So they also don't want to say this pshat because Tami Bechulin, the reason why they didn't say the pshat is because a tummy person that's shecht in Chulin, the only reason why I would need this Mishnah is if I hold that there are special laws that person has because he wants to keep his chulin tar. He wants to keep his regular produce tar. But we don't hold of that. We hold that if it's someone that wants to keep his chulin tar, so go ahead. Go, knock yourself out. But there's no halachas about that. It's no problem. You want to? Okay, that's big deal. You want to. So we need a halacha that says you're allowed to shech. There's no halacha that says you have to keep it tar. It's not considered kaidash. So therefore, the whole Mishnah doesn't apply. Kulu Ravina layamri. Ravina, who said that we're talking about mumchen or muchzakin. They know the halachas, so they're experts, but they're one or the other. Lachlis damer mumchen, and according to the first one, that says that that they know the halachas. Shein mumchen lai, but if they don't know the halachas, not. The Gemara says reiv mitzvin etzel shchita mumchenin. We have no concern about that because anyone that steps up to do shchita is assumed that he knows what he's doing, right? You don't. It's like you get into the plane, in the pilot. You assume the pilot has a license. You don't have to ask if he has a. If you're standing there and you're dressed like that, except if you're that guy, catch me if you can or something. There was this guy that just faked everything. But otherwise, most people, rave people, then
it was all hoax.
Huh?
The whole thing was a hoax.
Right. I mean, it's easy. You can buy a lab coat. You can make believe you're a doctor, just rent an office and put a sign up, and you're good to go. But today you can make a certificate to put on the wall that says you graduated from Harvard or something. So.
The whole thing.
Oh really? The whole catching the cannons. Oh, that's even better. Okay. That says that you have to be an expert, but you don't have to know the halachas. We said that we have to ask him, and this it says we're not concerned about fainting. There are people that faint, but that's not a concern. So this whole b'di'evit thing is not one fit. So that's why they didn't say like Ravina. Rava layamer karbaya. Rava doesn't say like Abaya. Abaya's pshat was we're dealing with a kuti and you need to be standing there. Rava says we're dealing with a kuti, but yotzev v'nechnas. Kikushya, he had a question on it. He had a question that says, why do you need to be standing there? We know yotzev v'nechnas is good enough. Abaya layamer karava. Abaya doesn't say like Rava that says yotzev v'nechnas is enough. Because hasam leinaga hachanaga. Over there, we're talking about wine. And the non-Jew is going to be afraid to touch the wine. The guy, we said that the yotzev v'nechnas is enough. So you come in and you catch him red-handed, literally red-handed because his hand is touching the wine.
Whoa.
So then he's going to be ashamed. But over here, he has to be holding the knife and he has to be shechting. So what do you mean that he's going to be ashamed? He's touching it the whole time. So therefore, you would need Abaya doesn't accept Rava's pshat that yotzev v'nechnas a spot check is enough. Rashi doesn't say like them. He says we're dealing with the mumar because he says kutim are regular non-Jewish people. They converted because of lions. We don't accept that conversion. Abaya le'amak Ravashi. Why doesn't Abaya say like Ravashi? Le'svir le'hadarava. Because the whole way that you can learn like Ravashi is you have to accept Rava's pshat, where Rava says that a Yisrael mumar, a Jew that doesn't keep kashrus, l'tiyavan, you can still shecht his knife. You can still check his knife and he can shecht. Abaya doesn't hold of that. But why does Rava not learn like Ravashi? Ravashi's whole basis is on a din of Rava. Rava should accept his own pshat. It says, L'dvarav ta'abaya kamar v'leile svirlei. Rabbi was telling Abaya that you're learning with a kuti, so let me tell you that your pshat in a kuti doesn't work. I have a better pshat in kuti. But his own pshat would have been like Ravashi. That's what it seems to be saying. Yeah. In other words, Rabbi says, I hold that it's dealing with the mumar. You're saying it's dealing with the kuti. In the kuti, I have a better pshat in it. That's what he's saying. Okay, we're up to Taner Rabbana. Let's leave it over here. See Taner Rabbana? The bottom of the page, 3 lines from the bottom. Okay, have a good day, everyone. Freilich and Lag Baimer.